Our first album, Days of Future Past, was recorded in stereos. I think it was the first album ever to be recorded only as a stereo album. We actually went back into the studio, made it into a mono album afterwards, and if people go through their antique collections of albums, if they find an album cover with a little hole in, they'll find whether it says stereo or mono. It's quite an interesting little bit of history there.
I've just been participating in or remastering the first 5 albums, and also looking at them again in 5.1 surround sound, which was taken from the quad mixes that were done by Derek Varnos and Tony Clark in the early 70s of the first 7 albums. And I can at last see them from a distance. I'd listened to some things on the early albums that we do on the road, and of course I'd listened to them, but a lot of the rest of the albums I'd never listened to, and I've literally been sitting there thinking, did we do that? That's amazing.
But I think when we started making our albums, an album at that time was really a collection of 3 or 4 hits, 5 or 6 almost hits, and 10 B-sides.
The perception of time and the distance from now back to then has really made me appreciate what went into them, and I know why we work so hard. We put the effort in, we worked hard on getting there, and it worked.
I think we wanted to make an album, a beautiful vehicle, 45 minutes of stereo music, that you could make a real beautiful vehicle for our music. And to have that vehicle you needed a name, and so we used to sit round and think about what we wanted to talk about next. And then we came up with these names like In Search of the Lost Chord, On the Threshold of a Dream, To Our Children's Children's Children. And they summed up who we were at that particular moment. For me, they summed up who I was anyway, at that particular moment through my life. And I think, it was really important to put those, these titles, and Graham used to write all these, and he still does of course, write all the poetry that sort of gelled it all together and made sense of all these reasons. We got all the lyrics to sort of show the different way we're going with our songs.
It was curious for us because we had great success, tremendous record success in the late 60s and early 70s, which when we decided to shun any kind of publicity and not do interviews and be private and not go that route of trying to be personalities or celebrity. And I think actually that stood us in really good stead. We just wanted to do the music. It was a simple thing for us, trying to concentrate on making music without being distracted by that. At the same time, that we did become celebrities, obviously because of what we became known for. Now, and that kind of, not adulation, but recognition you have for better or worse.
I think the real, when you have success, I mean, we did have success when we were very young, and enormous success really. And when you're chartering your own 707 aeroplanes when you're like 23 years of age, it's quite incredible. And you get to an airport, and they stop in the regular planes taking off because your plane's on the runway with your name on the side, and you've got priority.
I'm really nowhere close to important as I thought I was for quite a while, and I realised that I have very little effect globally, and I'm in fact quite involved in local politics. That's not party politics, that's local politics. We was in a very small towns and stuff like that, where finally I might make a slight difference.
But I think we were really lucky because we all grew up together, and we were all probably our own really personal critiques of each other. And it's really good because none of us ever sort of had anything more than anyone else, because one of the other guys would say, oh, come on, you can't do that. And I think it sort of kept a real perspective on our lives. And also, to be honest, I think my wife kept a lot of things in perspective, especially when you have children and you're looking at them growing up, and you want them to be happy and you want them to be involved in their lives.
For a while there, I thought I was making a difference. Then I look around now and the newspaper headlines are exactly the same as they were 40 years ago. There's trouble in the Middle East, there's trouble in the Far East, young children are disappearing, women are getting knocked around, and there's a war. 40 years, same bloody headlines.